and I have two artificial brains continuously talking to each other. This is the whole brain structure made of many clocks, and only one of them is neuron.
Human consciousness could have come about by chance through evolution, or was it rather created?
We have the code of the universe. We have the code of the universe within us when we were getting created. This is the whole brain. So this is the spinal cord. It's a grand question. It's a grand question in front of the humanity right now, what you have asked me.
Greetings, dear viewers. Thank you for being with us. Today we have a dear guest, Anirban Bandyopadhyay. Let me introduce him. He's a principal research scientist at the National Institute for Material Science, Tsukuba, Japan. PhD in International Association of Classification Scientists, Kolkata, 2005. In 2005 until 2008, he was a research fellow at International Center of Young Scientists in Japan. In 2008, joined as a scientist at the National Institute of Material Science and worked on design synthetics of brain-like organic jelly, and wrote a book, Nanobrain, the making of an artificial brain from a time crystal. He holds the following awards: Hitachi Science and Technology Award 2010, Inamori Foundation Award 2011 and 12, Karuta Foundation Award, and he's a current member of Seva Society International Japan. Thank you for joining us today. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction.
We are very interested to start and asking you a lot of questions. And I would propose to start our discussion based on your research on consciousness. We would like to ask you what actually motivated you to do this research on consciousness?
So from my childhood, I have been very passionate about human brain. Accidentally, when I was age 12, then my father brought me a book, The Learning Brain. It was a compilation of brain research from Russia for the last 30 years. And still I carry the book with me. And then the book was whatever I was trying to read, I was not able to understand. And then I got another book, The Grand Biological Clock. And then when I read this Grand Biological Clock, that entire living system is integrated part of many different kind of clocks. So I could imagine and dream that whole universe is like a clock, and then many clocks are arranged in a 3D pattern, and that is the whole universe. So I was a observer. I was very inquisitive about every single thing around me and how every single life form lives. And I learned many things which people around me didn't notice. And I could feel the grand biological clock, like every single part of my body. And then when I started reading the textbooks, reading the books, I found that nobody is talking about rhythm or something. It's a fact. I mean, I could notice that the chicken, they make sound every 1 hour 8 minutes for whole night, and I was to observe night after night, and they don't make mistake. Every 1 hour 8 minutes, how do they make sound? So there is a clock. So this grand biological clock, which may be encompassing entire universe, and I am also just part of this kind of local clock assembly. So if the whole universe is conscious, and I am also conscious, a part of it, I must explore it. And if you see it, seeing the nature in my way and find same observation, then my observation becomes a scientific theorem and scientific observation. So this is kind of a philosophy and culture which disturbed me a lot. So I thought that why not, when I'm so different, I'm thinking so differently, and nothing connects me or disconnects me with the whole brand of research going on, and then why not I should write I should build the artificial brain. And I believe, just like Feynman, if you don't make it, you don't understand it. So there are, at present in the world, there are thousands of theories on artificial on consciousness, and but I feel that the first step to understand human consciousness and we live is to make a primitive one, or whatever primitive it is. It should operate by itself. It's a thing by itself. For an example, I did not read, or we did not practice what we are going to talk today. You asked the question. I wanted to get those points fresh inside me and respond instantly, because this is where we are human. We are different because it's not a programmed system. Algorithms and written instructions and reading them out one by one. The new kind of educational system or the revolution in this planet would come only when we understand the true consciousness.
Based on your experience being observer and actually working on creating artificial consciousness, in your opinion, what do you think consciousness is?
So I have already told that I feel like the ancient Vedic wisdom, where they considered the whole universe as a life form, and they created a concept called the Virata Purusha. So Virata Purusha means a large living life form, but Purusha also means a kind of ideal mathematical structure that cannot be touched. So it is not space, it is not time, it is not geometric shape. So at the lower level, you see space, then time, then geometric shape, and then you see prime numbers, and then the whole mathematical structures. And imagine if that kind of mathematical structure, a kind of structure, if it is governing the whole universe, the whole Virata Purusha, the entire life form, and there is a life inside a life, inside a life, inside a life. It's an endless change of life. But here I should tell you that where I differ from different concepts of the world is that whether we accept it or not, Turing machine actually regulates underlying everything in our society, whatever we see, the machines, the spaceships, and whatever it is, whatever man-made systems. And it's a linear system. So it's a philosophy that every single information in this universe could be written in a line, one by one, sequentially, one after another, with the elementary decision being yes or no. So 0101 on a tape, you can write everything. I believe this is not the true representation of nature. It's not sequentially one after another. It will be within and above. It will be within and above. So it means you go within and within and within. So this is just orthogonal to the current concept of the world. So in summary, I believe that consciousness is that the bigger life form, and then a smaller life form, and a smaller life form, and smaller life form. So when a life form is able to understand that it has a life form within, and it has a life form above, and it is part of the network, then it becomes conscious. And like you being conscious and I being conscious means there is a universal set of code, a mathematical structure, a code that we have found, and with the different probabilities and different mathematical structures. And we believe that, and it looks like a temple-like structure. It's a beautiful temple-like structure. I can show that. I mean, I have this book. So you see the temple-like structure. So we created mathematically. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Suppose you are 16 billion years back or many years back, and then somebody gives you just energy packets and you want to arrange them. So if you have 12 energy packets, then you can arrange 2 into 2 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So 6 of them, or 6, 6. So how many ways you can write 12? You can write in 8 or 7 different ways. So you go vertical. So horizontal axis is number of energy packets, and vertical is number of ways you can arrange. And you rotate it, you get the temple structure. So this is we call Purusha, or this is a mathematical structure, or phase prime metric. So what I'm saying is that this mathematical structure is mother of all possible symmetries in the universe. And this is the structure that is regulating the code. I understand that it is becoming very difficult for others, but we can say that life inside a life, inside a life, inside a life, inside life, in a within and above network, when a life form is able to fathom, evaluate, control, monitor the lower life forms and the higher life forms, then it is conscious.
Wow, interesting just to have this variety of interpretation about the consciousness. Thank you so much for your explanation. And also, as we know, to this day, there's a lot of debate among scientists about where consciousness is located. It has not yet been found in the brain, even though there were a lot of research being done. And in your opinion, where do you think the consciousness is located?
So to answer this, I would like to go back to 2009 to 2008, 2009, and when we were looking for helical or spiral. It's in the DNA. You see helical structures in the RNA, in the protein alpha helices. You see helical structures in the galaxies. You see the helical structure. Elementary particles, the motion of those particles. You see even in quantum mechanics. You see that one point you start to complete a circle and try to come back to the initial point, but you don't. You rotate and rotate, and you create a helix. It's called the geometric phase. So entire science is filled with this. So I wanted to find that why not consciousness is located in the helical structures. So I started working on microtubule, and then I found that it is very difficult in this world because people believe neuron is fundamental of information processing. It's just like a bit or switch, or some people say it's a transistor and brain is a circuit and the operation goes on, but who writes the code? Who knows? But the point is that that in the initial days, I was just thinking, just like the normal scientists, that it should be located somewhere. But I found that like Christoph Koch and others, they are saying claustrum, a component in the brain that is responsible. Some people say that it is a mathematical structure, but they don't say how the mathematical structure looks like. That's why I showed you the book, because the problem with us is that we say universe is a holographic memory or holographic consciousness, but we don't say who is generating the holograph. If a hologram, projection has to come from somewhere. So whenever you try to locate it at any place, wherever it is, you are in trouble, because you are locating at somewhere where the frame of reference would begin. But what if there is no frame of reference? Because what I said to you a moment ago, that within and above, it's an infinite network. It's endless. You go to the up now and go to the down. Then where is consciousness located? Nowhere, but everywhere. So basically, when I have in 2014, we published a paper and we proposed resonance chain. So what happened, actually, I would like to tell you this story. How do we come about this particular idea that consciousness is nowhere but everywhere? We were measuring a protein, tubulin protein, and microtubule and the neuron, and then we were measuring what are the frequencies. So what we found that there is a triplet, 3 bands of musical, say a musical symphony going on. So you have one band, another band, say in millisecond, microsecond, nanosecond time domain. They are playing the music. So 3 bands. And you go inside, you find 3 more bands. And you go inside one band, you find many more, 12 different kind of music. So total 108 different kind of frequencies are playing a composition of music in microtubule, helical nanowire, that is packed inside the neuron. What do I do? Shall I consider, just like others are considering, that neuron is the fundamental information processing unit of the brain and it is giving us consciousness? No, I can't. Because when we started, instead of using a microscope, looking at the neural network and thinking that they will be doing it, I said, no, we don't need microscope. So we created another kind of instrument where we can look at with a radio wave how the neural network looks like, with a microwave, how does it looks like. So basically with the thermal imaging, how does it looks like. So basically we published in Journal of Neuroscience that in different time domain, our same brain circuit looks very different. So when I am talking to you, maybe my consciousness is happening, say 50 milliseconds. But for each millisecond, my neuron is firing, tick, 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 tick. But in one tick, I can find the microtubules are vibrating in a microsecond time domain, tick, 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 each microsecond once. But from that microtubule to happen inside the tubulin, these proteins are vibrating in nanoseconds, tick, 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 tick. But for that protein to vibrate, maybe in picosecond, that is 10 to the power 3 times, 10,000 times faster, 1,000 times faster. And there in each picosecond, it is doing tick, 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 tick. So where it will end, even in the atom, I don't know whether it will go beyond atoms, even smaller than atoms. But it's a triplet chain of frequencies within and above network of clocks where it is there. So this whole chain actually vibrate and try to synchronize with the bigger chain that is for the whole universe. But that is within and above. Never think that it will be like a normal string, like this kind of cables or wires. No. It's within and above. So when we have that kind of situation, then consciousness is in that chain, in that mathematical perception. So it's just like an elephant. If you the blind people are seeing, they see different. It's a story from Upanishad, and that somebody is touching the leg, somebody is touching the ear, somebody is touching the trunk, and then all these kind of things. And I think that together, not the view of one, but if we have to include the view of all and something beyond, which is beyond their imagination, beyond their limit, beyond their view, in their dimension. It's a completely different dimension. So everybody is looking at 2D, 2 dimension. But in the 3 dimension, the elephant is there. So we have to go higher dimension and higher dimension and higher dimension and higher dimension to observe it. So I think partially I have tried to address this particular concept, but I could tell more, but I would not like to. I would like to restrict myself within this 2 particular perception. That is, one is that in this kind of resonance chain of frequencies or vibration or clock architecture, it is the higher dimensional pattern that it is saying. It's not the surface of the lake, but it is the whole elephant as a whole. So you have to change the whole world view, the way you are looking. But it is not once, you have to do it 12 times. Then you can fathom and where is consciousness. So don't try to look for a very particular place. If you try to do that, it's definitely you are making a mistake. Don't try to look at in a particular time domain. If you try to do it, you are making a mistake. So go beyond space, beyond time, beyond geometric shape, maybe some mathematical structure. But it is not in the mathematical structure also. It is everything from space, time, topology, prime, and everywhere. Some part of it is there, and then you have to get it.
Yes, indeed. It's interesting how you mentioned that it's everywhere, because if you start saying that about the location, you're specifically focusing on the source, right? So consciousness should have the source, the starting point, yes. But then you cannot find it. And that's why numerous research is being done, and then they cannot find, because there's no like a box, right? It's more like a Pandora box that you start opening and more doors are opening for you. So it's indeed infinity.
Yes, it's just like somebody is trying to find where the universe, if there was a Big Bang, where the Big Bang happened. So trying to locate it, that here it originated, or here it is coming from, or where it is coming from, will only take you at a distracted path and a distracted destination.
Yeah, it's very interesting how you mentioned it indeed. Yeah. And talking about the brain, artificial brain that you were creating, could you share with us what was the most challenging part of creating an artificial brain for you, and what can actual artificial brain do, and the capabilities?
Basically, we have created a database called www.brainrhythm.org. And in this database from NIMS, we are uploading the conversation of artificial brain, all these videos and all these materials. How do we make it? We have released it in public and making it free. So I wanted to tell that anybody listening to this interview could download those files and then explore by themselves. So what we have done is, in the last 13, 14 years, we have mapped every single component in the brain. So one part of the study was based on a premise that we do not locate where the brain is. We do not locate. We do not say that where the brain is. And also another part is where the decision is being made. So we create the entire nervous system and all the components in the brain. So first we make them, and we theoretically understand how do they vibrate in different time domain. So one problem with difference between us and others in the world, in the brain study, is that they consider neuron is everything. Neuron skin is everything. So I call it dermatology of neuron, because they think that inside neuron, microtubules are just skeletons and whatever else there. So nothing inside. It's just like if somebody says that my skin actually does everything, I can't oppose. Logically, it is correct, but it's absolutely nonsense. Similarly, a neuron skin or membrane is doing everything, and this faith is going on since 1906 until now, and you can't challenge it. It's fundamental for artificial intelligence, fundamental for everything that we are seeing around. So that's, I think, is fundamentally flawed. We don't do it. We have microtubules, we have proteins and other structures. And we try to find out that if there is a clock resonator vibrating like a tuning fork, and then it is integral part of another tuning fork, and that is integral part of another tuning fork. And in this way, if we create whole brain as a musical system, which is vibrating in all time domain, and then those frequencies are connecting with each other, arranging with each other like this temple-like structures, and mathematically, can it be a brain? I repeat, I take all the molecules from the smallest single molecule scale to up. We create the whole brain structures, and we let it vibrate like it can integrate all possible symmetries of the universe, like C2 symmetry, C3 symmetry, C5 symmetry. C2 symmetry means if you cut me by half, this part are nearly similar. So 50% of the structure of the universe is C2 symmetry, like both sides are equal, like the flash mask you have and others. And you try to create little asymmetry to make it beautiful, just like you did the purple color flower, and then the white flowers have tried to create an asymmetry. So 16 billion years ago, if there was a Big Bang and you created the universe, though I don't believe in Big Bang, I think that its universe is going within and above, it's getting created. So I disagree with Sir Roger Penrose, where he says one universe ends and a linear sequence of universes, because he is following the Turing machine. So he is saying one universe, one universe ends, another begins, another gone. And as I said, one universe, and then inside another, it's made of another universes, and you go inside another universe. So it's just an orthogonal concept. So in this way, if I create organic molecules, so first part is understanding, modeling the human brain, making it free, create a database for the whole world. That if you have a 3D printer and if you have the molecules, we give everything free to you, make it, and then check that if it goes beyond space, time, and topology and prime, and then does it become conscious? And if it becomes conscious, what do you get? Or does it behave very differently than the normal systems? Because at the end of the day, we need at least some proof, something where you don't write instructions, you don't write algorithm, still it is intelligent. Now ChatGPT is there, all other kind of reinforced learnings are there, and you give, suppose, I mean, the premise of artificial intelligence is that I will encode in my computer 1 trillion instructions for billions and billions of situations. Now you will be forced to tell it intelligent, because whatever you do, whatever you think, like chess game and many different kind of things, it will outperform you. It will never make mistakes. So that's the premise of artificial intelligence, that instructions will be many, many more. It will learn, it will cross-check, verify, and find out the rules. However, in the second phase, we went on creating molecules, and up to 1 millimeter scale of our brain structure. We started from 47 different molecules, and we grew it to a neuron fiber-like structure. And from fiber, we started building it. Since we are in the laboratory, and I think that I can show you the brain, so the whole brain structure, and when it vibrates, how does it look like? So just bear with me. I would just like to bring it, the computer. Can you see me? Yeah. I will take slowly so that it doesn't create any problem. So this is my lab in the background. And so you see, this is the connectome, and there is a spinal cord. So I'm rotating it slightly. This is the whole brain. So this is the spinal cord. You can see this is the spinal cord going through and bending. So this is the spinal cord. It bends, and these are for the hand and the leg. And when it vibrates like a 3D clock assembly. My interview started with this. This is the whole brain structure made of many clocks, and only one of them is neuron. So I wanted to show you this, because how we differ from the world is we take into account every single component in the brain and their clock structure. We don't reject anything. So that is one particular thing. So first part is model the whole human brain. Second, create many organic molecules which can self-assemble from single molecule scale and then grow. And beyond that, we do 3D printing and create an accurate whole brain connectomes, cerebellum, and then we fill it with the organic jelly. So it's a neural network like jelly. And so it's like this. So it's a gel. So we can press it. It's like a gel. You can see, a neural network is there, and then the brains are there, and then softwares are running. What it can do is to communicate. In the initial days, 2015-16, I was to make the brain with eyes, nose, and something. But I said that my job is not to build a robot. My job is to understand consciousness, build something that can make a decision, that can make intelligent decision without human instruction, right? So I believe that this kind of Purusha, the temple-like mathematical structures of all probabilities, of all integers, that has made you, and that has also made me. So I can come up with any unique kind of concepts, any unique ideas or anything, but you will be able to recreate that in your mind because you are also made of that mathematical structure which contains all possible symmetries, and you can find the complementary part and ask me the next question. And I find whatever it is, I synchronize it. So basically, I cannot create anything that you cannot recreate. You cannot create anything that I cannot recreate. That's why we don't need code. We have the code of the universe. We have the code of the universe within us when we were getting created. That's why interaction is possible without any algorithm. And that is the foundation of our artificial brain. So we make it like a vibrating system, like a human. And now what we do is from the vibration, we take it out, convert it into music. So any language will be biased. I will be biased, the other thing will be biased. So we have the eye fibers for the eye, but we don't put the eye lens. We have fibers for this, we don't. So what we allow is proprioception, that is above the spinal cord in the brainstem region. That sensor we create, that we connect everything. Proprioception means if I close my eyes and I can feel that I'm somewhere. Okay, that existence is the only existence we have put there. So our brain is not to create a robot. Our brain is to first understand, because if I dedicate my life in understanding this particular thing, then other people, other scientists would take over. But if I can put the premise, don't look anywhere, put everything together, let it vibrate, create this whole mathematical code for the universe, and then let it. So what we do is we invite people, already more than 287 human subjects we have studied in the brain, and we put the probe in the brain. And EEG, 1875, Richard Caton discovered EEG. So that is called electroencephalogram. So if you go to a medical doctor, they will put it and they will see from 1 to 40 hertz, alpha, beta, gamma, delta band, and then how your brain scalp, the electricity is there. So what we do is we have created DDG, duodecanogram, because with 1 to hertz to 40 hertz, I'm not satisfied because it's just 0.1 seconds. But I have to look at all the time domain simultaneously. So we create antenna-like thing and we put it, and then because electromagnetic, so we need to put the aluminum foil and cavities, we cover it, whole thing. So we call it DDG, and we look at seconds like EEG, but millisecond, microsecond, nanosecond, picosecond, all the time domain. And then we measured live the thought process that is going on in the human brain for 287 subjects. We clocked them together, locking the brain of different people. So in Indian Institute of Management, Ranchi, we carried out the project sponsored by Government of India on identifying the fractal structures of information processing in the brain. So entire time domain, it was sponsored. So I'm thankful to Government of India for sponsoring the entire project. And we studied and we found that our consciousness, we can see live with a duodecanogram, that different time domain. If you say this time domain consciousness is coming, no. This time domain, no. If you look at all the time domain, then you see there is a pattern that remains unchanged, and that is coming in the all time domain. So that duodecanogram machine, we put it on our artificial brain, and we also put it on human brain. And then we take from the artificial brain, convert it into music. Look, bias is always dangerous. In 5000 BC, Maharshi Kapil, a monk in India, a Vedic monk, he said that if you want to want to understand consciousness, then you have to invent a language, true language of nature. And then why true language? Because if you pronunciate a particular letter, then in the brain, it should create that kind of vibration, that kind of rhythm. They used to call it chandam, Sura Chandam. So that rhythm will be created, which gives exactly the feeling for that particular thing. You understand? It's a huge challenge he put forth for the Hindus. And then for the next 1400, 1500 years, Hindus went on creating 47 letters, and they called the language Sanskrit. It reform. Each letter has a meaning. Like if I say cha, and they found that if I say cha, it creates a motion like, if you see motion, the part of the brain that will be active. If we say cha, that part will be active. So they create a motion means cha, like sky, kha, continuous, ra. They identified 47 such feelings. So Sanskrit has no dictionary in the last 7,000, 8,000 years. You can create anytime a new word by putting, you have to remember the 47 letters and some rules for composition. So he said it. And now what happened is that, if I want to say bird, so sky, something that moves continuously. Movement is cha, kha, cha, ra. And then I will say wind will first come here, then here, then here. So I will know how to create the word. So Maharshi Kapil said and argued for a particular language to understand consciousness. So what he meant is that saying a object, anything, just like phone, takes you far, far away from consciousness. I know it's a very bold statement, but you try to understand this parachute, parachute. Does it create that kind of feeling? Parachute and all this have nothing to do. So why not go to the basics and try to find out the letter? Oh, triplet of triplet, 12 different frequency bands are generated. Okay, so this language was already in my mind because I grew up with Sanskrit language. I know that we have to reform the language continuously, and Hindus are actually reforming it. And pronunciation, that's why they prohibited writing. Because if you write it, then there will be a problem. Because if you write it, then people will memorize it and try to say this. So it was a oral tradition for thousands of years, the knowledge. Because the way you are pronunciating and creating the vortex of sound vibration was very important to generate consciousness and understand consciousness from the other person. So I remembered that. And when I tried to see this, from DDG, dodecanogram, I convert it into sound or music, whatever the frequency compositions it is generating. And then when I talk, I must compose a music or song, whatever I think, listening to that. And then they make a conversation with each other. So I invited many people, the great musicians and others, and I saw them crying, started. Because it starts creating a music that only he can understand and he can feel in his heart. So I close the eyes because my artificial brain doesn't have anything. So a room has no smell or anything, so no bias. And it's a light, dark room. Nobody speaks, absolute silence. And the person would only listen to it and then sing whatever it wants to sing. In a way, you don't have to be a professional singer. So basically, right at this moment, we are creating a database of musical conversation between a human and artificial brain. And I have two artificial brains continuously talking to each other. So we monitor their vibrations and all the database live. I do not want to make it, like a robot brain or something like that. Let's first understand. Because humanity has a long way to go. There is no need to hurry. If you give a medicine to the human race very fast, then there is a inflammation. Because if you cure a particular disease very fast in the human body, there is a side effect. There is a reaction in the body. So inflammation. So slow killing in a particular biological rate is good. Even for humanity, I think that when we make a very fast, very rapid, whatever they say, whatever the world say, it actually, I hate it. That's why so much of disharmony and something. Everybody is in a hurry, speed up. So I think that my life will be passed just by establishing this, that many time domain, there is a geometric structure, and beyond You have to look there. And if the instrument, the database are making free everything, you just look at it, see there is something. There is something that is not algorithmically written. And who is going to evaluate that it is conscious? A human. It will not be a few professors sitting there in some journal passing the peer review. No, you come, you talk. You talk, you sing, and let it sing. And then you say, do you find something very complementary as you wanted?
Yeah. Yes, very, very interesting. And yes, it's nice how indeed what you mentioned, that brains are also interacting with each other, and how I would say emotional can it be, right? If you close your eyes and you start really feeling the sounds, the vibrations, the meaning of it. And indeed, I agree that if you would start writing it down, then it would really lose the meaning of actually feeling it through with your heart, with your soul, with your brain, rather than just written down, because then it indeed becomes more like a bias on how each of them pronouncing it when reading it, right? Rather than having the main source of information, how it sounds correctly. That's why
silence is the best way. And then the song is the best way when it comes from heart. I mean, when a song is written for making people to dance, it's different. But when song comes through your deepest passion, you don't have to have a big tune. You already have a rhythm that nature has given to you. You do not have to be a singer. Only problem is we try to sing like a singer, like some other people have said. You just sing yourself. No, not the other song or not the other tune, your tune. When you can do that, actually you express your voice and other things so nicely.
Well, yes, it proves the concept of whenever there would be a woman, like a mother, singing to the child, they don't go to the singing, right? They sing from the bottom of the heart, and with all the emotions, with love that they are expressing to the child to make them calm. And for child, mother is like the whole world. So it means, yes, indeed. And it's nice what you said, that indeed singers, they're singing according to specific rules of singing schools, of education, which is also very biased based on opinions and structure.
Like a baby, a little baby, you will see little babies, when they draw painting, such a beautiful painting. And after they go to the school and they are trained, then their painting ability and their creativity, everything is destroyed.
Yes, it's very nice conversation we're having, and very nice to draw also parallels on it. And you mentioned about the brain and human consciousness interacting, but what, in your opinion, the difference between artificial brain and the human consciousness?
So basically, what happened here is, what I didn't say is that I started that intelligence and consciousness, ability to cognition. It's a grand question. It's a grand question in front of the humanity right now, what you have asked me. So that's why I would like to take a few minutes for yours. From you, just to explain one thing. Like I said, C2 symmetry. If you cut it by half, this part. C3 symmetry. 3 parts of it are similar, okay, threefold. Then you could have C5. I mean, 50%, like 100 by 2 is C2 symmetry. So 50% of the structures 16 billion years before will be C2 symmetry. Even 16 billion years later, when humanity will not be there, it will be evolved into a completely different species or disappear. But later, at that point of time also, in the universe, wherever you go, it doesn't matter. 50% of the structures will follow C2 symmetry. 50% of the decisions will be mirror symmetry, true and false, or something like that. Then comes C3 symmetry. And in C3 symmetry, we find that, say, 100 by 3 equal to 33.33. But some of the, like 6 is divided by 3 and divided by 2. So total 16%. 16% of the structure follows C3 symmetry. Like you have a flower with 3 petals. So it's a C3 symmetry. So how many structures? So 16 billion years ago, 16% of all the structures in that universe were C3 symmetry following. And 16 billion years later, in the new universe that will be created, you will find 16% of the structures following the similar C3 symmetry. And C5, then 8%. So if you go on adding 50 plus 16, 66, 66 plus 8, 74. Then 74 plus something, 7.77 is 80. If you go on adding C2 symmetry, C3 symmetry, C5 symmetry, C7 symmetry, C11, C13, all the prime number of symmetry, which are fundamental to this, because God's language is written in the primes. That's what I always believe, because primes create the integers and integers come up. And that's why I always get back to that particular code. Now, the point is, you see this, all this kind of symmetry. So when we created this artificial brain, we took 15 primes up to 47. Why? Because we have Brodmann's region, cortex region, where your cognition and human thoughts actually come from. If we go on C2 plus C3 plus C5, so in 15 primes, we can cover 86% of all possible vibrations of the universe. So we feel like you can simulate 86% of all possible vibrations of the universe, but we have the ability to multiply the primes and then invent a new prime. So like that is, I feel like 2 into 2 is equal to 4, 3 into 2 equal to 6, but 1, 2, 3 that you have. So 5 becomes the new prime, because there is a place which you cannot create using the previous numbers. This is how people invent primes. This is nature invents primes. So a human or any living species or the universe is always inventing new and new primes. Why? Because if it gets a prime, it will be able to create a fundamental new dynamics, a new symmetry, a creativity. So universe is creative, and it invents a prime to become more and more creative continuously. So this is the difference between artificial brain and the human brain, that when we created it, it's only up to 47, 15 primes, just like the human brain, but it cannot recreate and reinvent. That we have not been able to realize in our artificial brain. And in my lifetime, I will not be able to complete that research. So I have left it. So this is the difference, that it can find, and I can find, and I can continuously add. Hypothetically, not my hardware will remain the same, but I can try to invent a completely new type of dynamics. But our artificial brain is only this particular mathematical structure has been created to understand and respond in a certain way. So it cannot invent the new primes and new dynamics, new thoughts.
All right, very interesting. Thank you so much. Actually, you partially covered my second question was about the prime numbers and why you're actually using them in your design, but you already answered it. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Yes. So basically, in this point, I would like to say one thing, because people should know that you always hear that Hindus invented zero. And they invented the number system 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But have you ever wondered, because there is so much debate, why did they invent it? And how did they invent it? Like, how come the concept of zero comes from my mind or from anybody's mind? What was the cultural background? Because one of the important things in scientific discovery is understanding the continuity. What were the background work? What actually forced them to think like that? In India, when they invented zero, they always had a circle, because they always meant Purna. Purna means complete. So Indians used to talk about Purna. That means complete knowledge, entirety. So they were very obsessed, Indian scholars or Hindu scholars, were very obsessed about what is complete, what is ultimate. I mean, what is the limit? Because just like we as a child, when our father tells us, okay, look at the star that is the farthest away, then we say, what is beyond that? So we want this complete. Okay, so this is called Purna. So they are writing zero in the Western world when it went through Arabs, and from Arabs, Europeans learned. So they call it Arabic numerals, because they learned from Arab. So Arabs learned from Indians, Hindus, and when it went there, zero became nothing. But for us here, zero is everything. So that's why we put circle. Right? You come back to the same point. Of course, the fundamental premises of Hinduism that you can never come back, but the number system was created so that you can come back. You make it finite. So there was a huge debate you can find among the scholars that if a circle starts and if it comes back in the same point, can it be? So it was a Purusha and Prakriti debate. Purusha is kind of a mathematical ideal structure, but you can never create it in the universe. In reality, you try to do that, there will be some defect. Why? Because you cannot come back to the same point. This is one of the fundamental premises of Hinduism, that you can never come back.
Yeah, yes, thank you so much for this deep dive. It's really interesting. And may I ask, what role do micro tubes play in the workings of consciousness?
As I said, that I was very desperate for helical structures, and I felt that it should be fundamental to the universe. And because helical structures come from a very unique philosophy, as I already said, that a circle starts moving and then it never comes back. That's why Purusha and Prakriti, this debate is maybe at least 10,000 years old in the Indian system. So what happens if it doesn't come back? It goes on creating a spiral. So they call it Bartul. In Hindu system, they call it Bartul. So this is the word. I mean, this is very, very, several thousands of years old. So Bartul means start from a point and it goes on spiraling out. So microtubule was the reason. Every single moment you are talking to me and you are going on, every single cell in your body, the microtubules, the nanowires, the helical nanowires, they're changing their length. So the number of spirals are increasing and decreasing. It's called a dynamic instability. And that is keeping you alive at every moment. So every single cell, it's changing the length and then bringing some particles from here to there, and then massive energy processing is going on in every single cell. So microtubule, we started measuring and we found millisecond, a microsecond, and a nanosecond time domain. It is creating a beautiful time architecture. So it is just like neuron, they do the same. Just like tubulin within the microtubule do the same. So of course, microtubule plays a role, but microtubule is not the only thing, because as I said time and again, that if you try to fix anything and everything as an absolute, you are in trouble, because you have to go to that structure of time. And then from the structure of time, you have to go to the geometric shape that is remaining unchanged. So you have to always ask, what remains unchanged? Like you have a point and you jump from one point to another point, another point, another point. What remains unchanged? You get a straight line, one dimension from 0 dimension. Point is 0 dimension. You go from one line to another line. What remains unchanged? The surface. You get 2 dimension. So what remains unchanged is the most fundamental question that you can ask nature to give you answer of consciousness. So beyond the space, 3 dimensions of time, 3 dimensions of geometric shapes, and 3 dimensions of these mathematical structures that is being created. So microtubule is just one of the 12 fundamental time domain or higher dimension space, only one dimension that it gives.
And is there any special or like a peculiarity of the spiritual structure? Because it's a spiral, so is there something special about it? Or
the special thing that actually haunts me since I started learning biology and physics is that inside the microtubule there is a water structure, periodic crystal structure of water. And in our body, 77% is the water, and say around 20%, around 16-70% fat. When water created us, the signature of the water's this crystalline ordered manufacturing is just embedded inside the microtubule. And that haunted me a lot. It's a beautiful crystal structure of water, just like ice, but it is not ice. It follows a different five-fold symmetry because ice is a hexagonal symmetry. It's a hexagon, but inside it's pentagon. It's a prime. It's a beautiful helical arrangement of water molecules inside the microtubule, and it's a very ordered structures, and we measure that it vibrates in the gigahertz time domain, gigahertz domain, in the microwave domain. So for nanoseconds to hundreds of picoseconds, there is this vibration.
And just to divert a little bit in another direction, maybe to talk about the thoughts that we have in our head. How do they appear in our head? And are they a product of the brain activity, or do they come from outside of the brain?
Where I look at it as symmetries, as this temple architectures. So this is kind of the ideal, all possible thoughts that you can change from one to another that can happen in the universe mathematically. We could Purusha, say the ideal structure mathematically. But the point is, nobody is complete, and everybody is trying to fill up different part of this temple. So even universe is carrying out very interesting information processing, even in the simple scale, elementary scales. And this kind of proposition is going on. I want to say is that everybody is playing their phase prime metric or Purusha mathematical structures. They want to fill up. So you may think that this thought came from nowhere, actually came from somewhere. There were some interactions of those temple structures of someone, and then they interacted, and then they produced something.
And would you say it is the brain activity? The source is the brain activity?
No, it's definitely the mathematical continuity with many different sources. So you can't locate it in the of course, the result of it is a neuron firing that everybody knows. We understand the neuron firing happens. That's why the thought processes and something. We are not ruling it out. What we are saying is that neuron firing is not the only thing that is happening. There are many other kind of firings are also happening. Electromagnetic firing at a different time domain. Those are also happening, but there is something beyond, say, geometrical invariant exchange and other things that is happening, your brain and my brain and other things in that space. But in that geometric domain, if I say, or in the domain of prime, when that interaction is happening, it is neither inside you nor inside me. It's in the mathematical domain. In that level, when the interaction is happening and information is getting exchanged in that level, that dimension, then we can never say that real exchange of the thought process is happening in the brain to brain via vision.
And in that case, would you say that the thoughts are like the waves that basically going through and then entering?
Again,
like the person, then, okay, I decide to take this thought and develop on it and maybe start thinking, because if you just sit quietly and you start thinking about a butterfly, then suddenly you have some thoughts that, I forgot to call my mother, and then, I forgot to switch on the washing machine, because, all of this barbaric, and then maybe it's up to us to decide which thought we want. So maybe they're like waves that are passing by, so not coming from the source.
We are trained from our childhood to think in a very particular fashion, which we have named science or traditional science, and we are not trained to think radically. We're not trained. So we are programmed. That was the biggest challenge of making the brain. Biggest challenge of making the brain is to fight with myself, with the traditional knowledge by which I am trained, and then re-engineering myself to think in a way, in the way the experimental results were showing or the mathematical structures were coming up. So now what I would like to say is that regarding your question, that wave coming, definitely when I'm looking at you, the changes in your face and that voice is coming, that picture is coming, and the sound is coming as a mechanical wave in my ears. Those are information input. Nobody is disallowing it. So suppose I am talking to you, you take part by part separately, all of them, all the words, phrases, part by part, and put it separately. There is no information. Information is always in beyond this spatiotemporal domain. Let me give you some example. Somebody asks you that, what are you doing? You say, nothing. So there is a pattern of silence, an architecture of silence that is carrying the information or the thought process. So this is a very simple way to understand that where does the information lie? So information is lying in a geometric shape, which has nothing to do with the word. But that is giving your perception.
Thank you. And in one of your interviews, you talked about how one set of vibration can change the color, the composition, the temperature of the environment. It turns out that we can influence the actual matter. And what exactly is the influence? Is there a specific force that is used?
Suppose I'm evolving always spatiotemporally, and I'm changing the environment continuously by my decision. Matter is getting changed, everything is getting changed. So basically what I want to say is that it is not a supernatural, unknown, mysterious, some energy influence. You don't have to be mysterious. You have the mathematical structures, you are integral part of it, you are connected to it, and you just communicate. You have to shift a little thing and you see the big flows happening around you. Just think of yoga. How could this kind of pattern, this kind of pattern, this kind of pattern can change you? Because the whole symmetry of nervous system is there and blood flow system is there. You are just manipulating in a way, you are putting it in a different geometric shape that has a totally different kind of consequences on your present, in your future. And also it changes your memory of the past. So your past, present, future, everything is changing with some sort of geometric changes.
Thank you so much. And if you talk about the three principles of the Vedas that you studied, that mentioned the Trita is cyclicity, Loka is the universe, which is composed of pixels, and Brahma is eternal vibration. Could you please elaborate on the second principle of Loka? Because the scientists are already coming to understanding that the matter is based on kind of a grid or the framework.
So basically, Loka is kind of they call it, there are 14 Lokas. In Vedas, they call it Bindu. Bindu means a point, dimensionless entity. So we still in India, we call it Bindu. Indu, N-D-U, Indu is inside. And B is kind of beyond. So beyond inside is actually gives you a feeling that there is no dimension. Okay, so we start from a dimension, and then they ask like Bindu in one point to another point. It's a rekha, so it's a line, and you go, you jump from one point to another point, you get a line, so it is one dimension. So that is one loka, and then area, you go to another loka, and then you get a volume, you get another loka, and you get time, you get another loka. You get phase, singularity, undefinedness in the phase to put some new kind of time. Then you get another loka. And then you go on and on and on and on. So there are 14 lokas, but what in Hinduism, you always know in Vedak, you have to come back and complete the circle, no? So what you do is in 14, you come back. The reason I got interested in understanding Vedas, because I was giving the presentation of microtubule measurement in the USA. Somebody listened to it and then called and told me, you are getting triplet of triplet band and it has 12 peaks, frequencies. Do you know this is totally 108? I said, yeah, 108. They said, do you know that in Hinduism it's very important, in Jainism it's very important, in Buddhism it's very important? I said, no, I don't know. What is that? They said, you have it everywhere. Then I called my mother from US, and then I asked her that, really? I said, yes, Rudraksha You see, anywhere you go, from north to south, anywhere in India and anywhere in the world, you will find they have 108 beats. The same number of peaks you find it neuron, protein, or microtubules or anywhere. And then they offer, God is 12 lotus. So 12 different, 108 different kind of talas. Talas means beat. Just like in the West, you have Walj. Tick, 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 or you have 2 by 2. Something like that. But in India, you can get 3 by 3, 4 by 4, 5 by 5, 6 by 6, 7 by 7. I learned up to 17 by 17 in my tabla class. So that, which you cannot find, in the Western world, but you can find the tribals around the world. They use the primes and all these mathematics that I told about. You find it in Hinduism. You find the same thing in all the tribals, in many of the tribals. That's the reason I came up with the project Virata Purusha, where I want to do 108 episodes, again 108, where the 12 lokas, it will be 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, and 9. So triplet of 12, I'm dividing it. So each season will have 12 episodes, and in which one episode we will show that all over the world, people are just like different organ of a single life form. So loka is the concept where you create the rhythms, the fundamental of rhythms, the music and the dance forms, its symmetries and food and the dress. Everywhere you will find this is fundamentally implemented, and also in the celebrations.
Wow, fascinating. So indeed, in ancient times, people knew and they had information, right? But somehow it's been hidden and preserved.
It is preserved. It is preserved in many parts of the world even now.
Yes. And talking about the Asian artifacts, the pineal gland is very often depicted on various ancient artifacts. Why do you think it's given such a great importance in Asian teachings and culture, and what role does it play? Like, why is it bindu point depicted in place of the pineal gland?
Yeah. So pineal gland is always considered as very holy, because as you know that so you have to go and get a little bit into electromagnetism. So one of the prime work that we have done in our laboratory is the measurement of proteins, vibration, frequency pattern, and then with quantum tunneling images, we have saw how it dance. Because we feel that music and dance has to come together, and that should be the new code of the biomaterials, of their vibrations. So pineal gland or any kind of glands, when you look at the body pattern and then its symmetries, there is a concept called cavity. Cavity resonator, like a tuning fork is you heat it. So it's called a dielectric resonator. You heat it and then it vibrates. And another thing is called a drum. When you play the drum, it's cavity resonator. So we have created our human brain model based on a fusion of cavity resonator and dielectric resonator. So it's either empty space where you can reflect back and forth inside which, and you create the vibration, or the whole physical structure vibrate. Another could be the shape is something where you send the energy and the energy vortex is reshaped. So it's a new kind of flute where the vortex that is coming out, you just reshape it in a complex scenario depending on the shape. In flute, you press the different holes and something. It's a very simple way, but another instrument. So that kind of instrument, biological system is made of. So I have written a whole book on this, that how the biological systems create music, the vibration and other resonant music. And so pineal gland is located in a position where you will find that that all the energy in the brain get concentrated. So we did some theoretical simulation with our electromagnetic resonance simulator, and we found particular places in the brain where it locates. And location of the pineal gland is one of the primary things. For an example, when we did the simulation in the spinal cord, we found that there is a Fibonacci sequence or Hemchandra sequence through which you will find that there is a clustering of energy, and the 7 chakra concept is very much in coherence with that. So electromagnetic resonance, its localization is the reason very different parts of our body gets much more influenced with the electromagnetic resonance. And then you can say that where the electromagnetic resonance coming from? From the thermal energy our body harvests.
Yeah, it's very interesting about those vibrations, because I saw how actually vibration affect our body, and especially with the sun, and and how especially the fact that we made out of water, right? And also today it remains a little studied part of the brain, such as the thalamus. Perhaps you have managed to make some discoveries about its functioning. In your opinion, what does the role it play in the regulation of states of consciousness, for example, in the sleep and awakeness and concentration?
Yeah. So basically, as I said, that when I don't have those brain components here, this is in another chemical lab. Otherwise, I could have shown you thalamus. So we created thalamus, we created hypothalamus, we created cerebellum, we created every single part of the brain, because we didn't want it to leave out. We wanted to create the whole resonance chain and try to understand where is the knowledge. When you don't know it, you don't isolate. If you speculate and fix somewhere, you are already defeated, right? Apart from the amygdala's emotion that is going through the sleep cycle or rhythm, you have to also consider that apart from the pons or brainstem regions, a suprachiasmatic nucleus that is controlling the rhythm in the body. So there are some global rhythms, there are some local rhythms also on all the biological phenomenon or repetitions. So like cerebellum is synchronizing the many kind of clock structures or periodic loops and systems or rhythmic for your muscle and other movement. Imagine somebody is doing that for your emotion. The way you are moving the muscles and something, you don't see that how many different waves, different clocks, 3D assembly of clocks, just like I showed for the brain, this kind of system. Similarly, you have for emotion also. Goodness, badness, and all kind of things. The clock. Somebody goes up, somebody going down. Some clocks. Imagine many spheres, and then some are going up, down.
Yeah, indeed. And what do you think if consciousness and the human brain are such a complex structure, and you are trying to recreate them now? Do you think human consciousness could have come about by chance through evolution, or was it rather created?
I feel that it is the purpose of the Virata Purusha, the whole universe, which is a conscious system and who wants to enrich its prime database. And so it's a necessity for the Virata Purusha to create more conscious beings and make them more and more conscious. So it is. So I call it. There is a proverb in Hinduism. They call it Jat Pindate Tat Brahmande. Pindate means a tiny point, and in that point, whole universe is located. So, the idea is that if you take a point and then you put another point, you end up in this structure. Because this structure, making of this structure requires no assumption, only the possible random combination of points. So when you make these structures, then you normalize it, put it inside one. So these two things, if you can do, put it inside the point and normalize, you get clockwise motion, anti-clockwise motion, and then slowly you get space, you get time. And as soon as you go there, you find that somewhere you create the condition for another temple structure to born like this. Another one. So it is the fundamental necessity of the universe to remain within the point and remain undefined. It keep on creating these temple structures of mathematical probabilities. And more it creates, more spatiotemporal architectures are born. So basically we are the product of the necessity to remain undefined, incomplete, and the satisfying the mathematical pyramid. So we were not created by accident.
Wow, thank you so much. Yes, it's very interesting, and I think there is must be a lot more work to be done to discover, to research, and to really deep dive into it, because it's never ending.
Yes. Yes. So the hypothesis, my hypothesis that we are saying, we do not want to state anything, just like the Turing machine based, the current science paradigm, they want to state, okay, it have to be absolute, just like a God sermon was written in the textbook. We knowingly, unknowingly, we continuously try to create another religion, another religion, another religion, another. But when we try to create an endless chain, then we just want to start seeing it, be part of it, and then embrace it.
Yes, indeed. Very nice words you mentioned. And yes, that's actually it. We came to the end of our discussion, and I'm very grateful for your time. And you mentioned also about your project that you are busy with. Maybe you can say a couple of words about it as well.
So basically, there are 5 inventions that we have made. First is a DDG, a machine to measure human information processing from the brain at different time domain, trying to map that it's beyond space-time. It's called DDG. Another instrument that we made, artificial brain, the organic jelly. Then you make a quantum computer, beyond quantum computer, we call it. So try to see if this shared existence, which is fundamental to quantum, it could be higher dimensional. So that kind of exploration is going on. That's and then we have created a new language of the clocks. We call it geometric musical language. We patented it. And we are creating a new kind of cryptography or something. And there is finally, we are creating a new kind of medical science. So normally, in the last century, the medical science that you saw is adding some chemicals, small molecules to your body. And then if some protein, some virus or some disease creates a particular kind of protein expression, much more or protein expression is suppressed, then a particular molecule is sent to regulate those protein expression. So this is the most advanced form of medical science that you have. But we have been developing a kind of molecular motors or machines that can replicate the dynamics of the cell membrane and the cellular system and can generate complementary rhythms to treat the vibrations. So far, we have been working only on cancer cell. We started in inflammation. So there are 5 or 6 different laboratories who have been, we created a massively complex 10 nanometer machine with 32 motors, the smallest life form of the world. We are the only group in the world to have designed and synthesized it. So it has 32 molecular motors, 4 different kind of sensors, and then everything is within 10 nanometers. And then we are trying to find the first medicine for cancer, because the cancer medicine, cancer is very dangerous because of a principle called CUP, carcinogenic, unidentified primary. Suppose somebody has a cancer in the neck. That means the cancer could come from, that cancer might have come from lungs. And before coming to lungs, it might have come from stomach. So when it goes to different parts of the body, that learns, because it's very adaptive, it learns and becomes much more powerful. So that's why the concept came CUP. So when you're doing the research and then try to find out the solution for the neck cancer, basically you have to understand that it is adapted in a very different way. So there are 200 types of lungs cancer, 300 times of, say, pancreatic cancer. So why so many? Because it is very intelligent. It knows how to bypass and then different pathways. So we have successfully created a molecular motor-based machine. That machine can identify the intelligence of the biological system, and accordingly it can communicate. So normally drugs, if you have a headache, you get a paracetamol. What is the dose? 600 milligram. We are working in the domain of femtomolar. That means 10 to the power 12 times smaller density domain, where you normally think homeopathy. But the homeopathy has a principle that lower the density, more is the power. For us, it's a Gaussian packets. So our phenomenon of molecular motor-based, these dynamic systems of interacting with the biological system, talking to it. So we are saying that we are trying to find the true medical science, because if I understand the code of the nature, if I say that this is the code of the nature, then I should be able to make a device that can interact with the different biological systems and cure the disease by conversation, not suppress or do some stopgap solution. Right. So these 5 are the 5 different research products that we have created. I'm trying to build I have set up a research institute, International Institute of Invincible Rhythms. On behalf of that, we are organizing conferences, we are meeting people, we are contacting the tribes, and we are bringing them together to learn more and more about the higher level pattern that is driving their creation. So that, 108 TV series episode, what we want to show is that all the humanity following a very particular concept. For an example, Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark, everybody knows about Noah's Ark. So many Hollywood movies have been made. But imagine at the very time when the Noah's Ark was happening, we had similar kind of stories of Manvantar, Manu, created in Hinduism. If you go to Africa, you find the similar story. If you go to New Zealand, if you go to Australia, same story. If you go to Latin America, same story. Not same, very different, but the same theme. But when you put them together, you feel like whole humanity is telling one story. So it could be the whole humanity is one life form, like a Virata Purusha. So I just want to create 108 episodes, and I want to show with the eye to the world that you may look different, but you have been one. You have always remained one. 30,000 BC in the caves, when people were painting, they had no Wi-Fi signal, they had no social media, they had no cultural exchange, they didn't have big boat to travel. How could they end up creating similar kind of symbols, patterns, and similar kind of styles?
Thank you so much. And we wish you all the best with your projects. And hopefully we really move forward as a humanity towards a better life, let's say, to summarize in this way.
Yeah, just like I feel like many people would be able to feel their heart, what we have felt, and then they work in their own way, not follow us, because when you follow, it will be that just like current science, it will become another religion.
Yes, indeed, because if you follow, you're slightly biased, but if you go your way, you find your way, right?
Yes, and if there is, even after that, if there is a unity in diversity, then all of them are going in the path of truth.
Indeed, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.